brother Robert Simon, and I'm Millie Simon. I know part of, yeah, well, everybody in here, everybody. And, well, this is going to be our talk about hunting. Robert was the hunter for the Middletown Rancheria, along with my brother Al and my dad, Jose Simon. Ray and Moke, they'd hunt, but they didn't hunt much as these guys did. And they were our providers for meat. Diamond D supplied us the land. Comstock supplied us the land. And who else, bro?
Mostly Diamond D and then vouchers, remember vouchers?
Vouchers.
We hunted at Al Taylor's place out there.
Because his dad, Al Taylor's dad's name? Vince Taylor, he let us hunt out there. And Bonap never did let us bother too much there. But that was fine, we had other places to go. And Sterling Shaw, he was right by 7M Ranch. He let us hunt there too.
And Comstock.
Yeah, Comstock. Comstock was part of it. We can remember Lisa Comstock on a little black pony she had. I think she was only 3 years old. She used to ride up to my dad and them in our old blue truck and talk with them. And I mean, that was just something my dad would say, to see a little cowgirl ride up on a black horse like that and talk, and the way off she would go on her property there. But I'll let Robert go ahead. He was the, and I just brought some stuff in, like deer horns I got from Calvin, and then some 30 odd shells, what we used, the 30 Winston, what my dad, and this is his tool of his skinning knife, was just this. And then this was his rock that he sharpened every time he was gonna skin the deer. And this is a little tiny small knife, but now I know what to use it for. I have to use it for my my clappers, because it's easy to hold and dig. So I found out what I can use with, but there's the deer horns and elk horns. We didn't hunt elk, but I had those, but the deer was our main, much as the acorn was for the Indians. And, oh, good, come on in, sit down. Don't just stand there. But thank you for coming in. Like I said, this is my brother Robert Simon. And we went to school here, and Robert's he can talk with Calvin too, because Calvin kind of, well, he did grow, but from 2nd grade on up till steel ball was around out there in the Rancheria. But Robert can tell what his hunting days were on Diamond D, and I have to finish mine. I was the butcher. I just had, and I still have the butcher knife. I was going to bring it, but I don't know how people felt with a weapon. And yeah, I can cut up a deer within probably 12 minutes. Yeah, I can do that. I know where to cut. Well, they saw the head off, but I take the neck, and I know where to do the shoulders, the back of the blade, for it be used for the strip on the back for the flank, for the beef jerky. I'm tired, you guys. I just come back from that Thule boat up there at Canuktai. And that was what we did, but he probably can skin a deer probably within 7 minutes or less than that, Robert. And him and Al.
Not anymore.
But him and Al, they took care of us when my dad just had to kill it, and they were the boys that came home and with just 1 or 2 deers, because we did feed as what they would call the village with the Rancheria. And we gave meat to this family and meat to that family, but they're the ones that went on their little hunting trips here in Middletown, Diamond D. And okay, Rob.
Yeah. How many people lived in the Rancheria when you grew up?
Are we talking about the people or the deer hunting?
Oh, I thought you were
Only like 3 or 4 residents.
Now, you were a teacher, so let's get this straight.
We can get
You
back
might
to
have
this.
to sit in the back of the room.
Thank you.
There was only probably about 20 people.
That was,
There were 9 kids on the rancheria. My mom and dad had 7. Luke had 2. They lost 1. And so it was 9. So that rancheria was paradise. It was paradise for us. That was our big playground. That's why we were never inside of the house. That was our playground. From winter time to summertime to spring, they had that little creek going through it. And wintertime at all, we played out there in that creek. And now I know my mom probably wasn't very happy about that because all we heated was wood. But anyway, we're gonna go hunting now, so put your boots on and cap and
Yeah, well, my dad, he worked for Diamond D. That's why we got to hunt out there, and there was a lot of deer back in those days. I mean, there was like 15 to 10 bucks in the field. I mean, some of these guys remember that back in the days in the 60s. You can just go out of town here, there'd be 10, 15 bucks out here. But not anymore. But anyway, in Diamond D, he raised, and that's what he did, was hunt mainly. He hunted. You know, he's telling stories where he hunted a long time ago. He didn't have a truck, but he'd walk from out there at that rancheria. He'd walk over that mountain. He'd go over this one. He'd walk clear out to going out hunting. And then he'd come back a certain day. That's what my dad was saying. And I said, well, what'd you do when you shot a deer? He said, I just kill it, take it to the closest road, and then we lay it there, and then come back and get somebody to give us a ride. He'd go out and get his, and then he had a horse too. He rode horses back in those days. His horse's name was Champ, but that's who he hunted with sometimes, with his horse. You know, around the mountains, you know, close by, but not too much. But he even hunted out in the rancheria there. But he was like, I don't know, he kind of like took lead of everything, because most everybody out there hunted with us. He was like John Yee, and that's that name of the gas station out there is Uncle Buddy, but his real name is John Yee. Us younger kids, we just call him Uncle Buddy because he gave us Pepsi and peanuts, you know. But he went hunting, and you remember that, Cal? He had that old gun. It was like a round barrel, and I can't remember what kind of gun it was. But everybody else had like Winchesters and stuff, but he had this one barrel. I mean, it was antique. And where that went, I don't know. But because I remember him holding that when they're going hunting. It was like a round barrel. It was kind of a long gun too. And but we'd all go hunting. But it seemed like my dad knew how to make us drive, which way to go. And then you'd have to have setters. You know, you have to spot people to where you're driving. And spotting, I used to think spotting was really easy because you just sit there and then let everybody go out and dog and run all the deer to you. But I tried it one time, but when you sit there, you got to have a lot of patience, because when you sit there, you get tired. And like if you had to sit there for hours, you get sleepy. And someplace in that mountain, in the mountains, when you get in there, it's nice cold breeze coming there. Now I see why the bucks go up there and lay in those mountains, because it's cool air. Some way that breeze comes up those canyons, it's nice. And to hunt them, you gotta know where that water is. So you gotta know the water pond, and you gotta know where to go travel when you're in the mountain. Because that's the way he taught us. There's water ponds here. You can hunt from water pond to water pond. And you can walk, but you got to know what you're doing. Because you get up there in that mountain, it's like a hot day like this. You better know what you're doing, because you don't got no water up there. You're gonna be thirsty. It's a long ways back, you know. You got to have canteen. Or either know where that water springs are in those mountains to travel to. But that's what he taught us, how to do things. And those bucks up there aren't very, they're smarter than heck. They're smarter than what you think. Humans think they're smart, but a deer can outsmart them. I see how smart they are in that mountain. And that's the whole sport about hunting, was to go up and get it. But like my dad, he raised 7 of us. He had to get that food to feed us. And that's why we became hunters, is because we had to feed a big family. At that time, we didn't have no casino. He had to, go out and work on the ranch. I mean, it was all different back in those days. But anyway, I watched him, how he taught all of us. And my brother Al, he was a really good hunter. I mean, even Cal can vouch for that. Remember, he could go up a mountain and he could smell, like if there was a buck that went through and he was going up that canyon, he could smell him. I seen him do it one time with me when I went up with him. He goes, oh, wait. He goes, do you smell that, Mom? And I go, what? He goes, there's a buck here. And then I stand there, and at first I go, you know what I mean? You don't believe it, Then he goes, go easy, there's a buck right here. And we kind of went up, pretty soon out jumped the buck. And we got him, but that's how good a hunter he was. Not a whole lot of people can do that, but that's unusual. I know Cal, he's seen it too. So, Cal's like a witness. Because I'm just because he's my brother, I'm not making up a story, but that's how good a hunter he was. And my dad, he taught us how to shoot, how to take our time. But Al was an excellent shot. I was only like 14 or 15 when I went, but he was an excellent shot. I seen him shoot. He's shooting the carbon, the ones that the cowboys used to put in their saddles and ride, the little short brush gun. He'd shoot that, and he could shoot long ways, And those guns were, my dad, he had a Hexon barrel, 30-30 Winchester. And those shot a little further. But he was like a good shot, but we never could outdo my dad, because he was, if he would have went in the military, he'd have been one of those sharpshooters, the snipers, because he would carry 3 bullets. That was it. He said, if you can't hit him in 3 shots, the deer is going to be gone. He goes, you're just shooting for nothing, because it'd be too far away. But that's how he shot. That's how he made himself a good shot. And percentage of the time, he would kill that deer 1 shot or a 2nd shot. And my brother Al was the same way. My brother Ray, we hunted over there, and he didn't hunt that much, but we hunted right over by McKinley Dam back on the brush hill. Me and my brother Al went high. We came around. Big old bucks jumped out, and we were shooting. And I did 1 shot, and I missed, and then I was running towards my brother-in-law and Ray, and they were coming up the mountain, so I couldn't shoot. And then they were going over the hill like that, and Ray goes, "Where is he, Bob?" And I said, "He's going to come out right there in front of you guys." And then he came out, and they started shooting, and they missed and missed and missed. And it was like here to the street, but they couldn't hit him. And then when they went over the hill, I said, "Well, I'll wait till it gets on top of that ridge, because they're like over this way." And I said, "I don't want to shoot. I don't want to hit nothing to ricochet." I said, so I waited on the hill, told them to go over the hill, and then I was going to shoot. And then I seen Ray shooting, and I seen that deer come down the hill. And I said, "Ray, you got him." And this is kind of funny, I'm just telling you. And then we got up there, and then Al and I come down, we went and tracked him down that canyon. And then we found him dead. Then Al goes, "Look," he goes, "he don't even have a bullet hole in it." And we looked around him, and then we was looking at him, and they was thinking, well, maybe he had a heart attack or something like that, because they shot at him a lot of times. And then he comes down that hill, We went down, he was dead, so when they're dead, you gotta bleed them, so we cut him and, made sure he's dead. And then we took him out of there and took him home, skinned him out. And then Uncle Jim, he came in, when we were skinning down, he came over. And they said, look at this, the deer died. They said that, and we were skinning it and they were all talking. Got it all skinned down, gutted it out, then we found a bullet inside, it hit his gut bag and come out toward his heart. And they go, how in the heck did that bullet get in him? My brother Ray did it, and Uncle Jim said, he must have did a bullseye shot right in the butt. Oh, he did. That was the craziest shot we ever seen. But that's how that deer died. I mean, that's a heck of a way to die, I said, told. But that's what happened. But there was no blood, no hole in him, we said. There's a couple of funny things when we went hunting like that. But we learned a lot from my dad. He was really serious. He didn't joke around with it. I mean, just, if you went with him, you do what he told us to do. He said, if I tell you guys to do something, do that. So we learned, we didn't fool around. He was like a drill sergeant. I mean, we hunted though. He made us a good hunter.
When they did hunt though, it was, when they took off, it wasn't just for pride or joy we're killing this, it was for our food. And my dad would always say a prayer. Even when over the dead deer, God, thank you for it. And they say that a deer will, I don't know because I am no hunter, they say a deer will stand and let you shoot them and they let the other deer get away. They say that, I don't know if that's so. They said there's a certain way that they will stand and put their body where you can shoot that part of the body. But they went like that. They didn't do it out of joy, but they went and did it for food. If they killed one deer, that was it. But I can remember them standing around the truck before they all left. My dad would have them stand there and get ready. It wasn't no joke or anything. Everybody had to respect your gun and respect the next person next to you. There was no cigarettes involved. Of course, I don't think anybody really smoked when they hunt. There was nothing like that, and
No alcohol.
no alcohol at all, and
Yeah, because he would say cigarettes, if you smoke cigarettes and they're on your clothes, you get up there in the hills, the deer can smell you a mile away. If you got alcohol on you, they're gonna smell you.
anything, no shaving lotion, anything, because the deer can smell you. That's if you're gonna really go hunt for food, which we did. And that's why I do have respect for Comstocks, because when my dad needed a deer wintertime or something, that one of them would say, yeah, come on out. And I believe Comstock knew a little bit of Indian because my dad, that's what he mostly spoke. And so because in our language, deer is shuki, so, and rabbit is chummy. So every time you would tell my dad, well, I saw, a couple 4 good horns of shuki out there this morning. And so my dad would say, okay, when I get off work, but my dad knew, like he says, when he would send them, and then he would look and think which way would this deer, and this is just us going out and looking at the street out here and say, okay, now I saw somebody down the street, which way are they going to go? Well, that's how he would stand and look at the mountain, and then he would send Robert and Alvin. He said, okay, one go this way, one go a little higher. They went in layers. Then my dad come this way. Sometimes he would be the one that would set, like what they call the spotter. But he never took no dogs, because if the deer could smell the dog, that was a bad sign too, that the deer can smell the dog too. But I know a lot of people think they have hunting dogs. Corey, you want to get one more seat?
Just one more?
They got right there, yeah. Oh, they have it.
Okay.
So that's what I'd say, but we would let the deer hang one night, and we'd wrap it in a sheet, and then the next day, we'd have our dinner or barbecue. And but anyway, But, you know, like Robert said, he hung up at Bernie all the time too. They loaded up in the morning, and then sometimes they got deer as soon as they got up there, and wherever Bernie is, then they had to come right back home because they already got their,
By altar shots.
yeah, and that's the way they did. But like he said, they saw many animals, different kind of tracks all over wherever they went hunting. And they saw a lot of springs, a beautiful country where they hunt, and there's a lot of little beautiful pieces in these woods. Just like where Galen Palmer lives, Robert and Al was coming down on that side of that cliff right there by, well, I don't know if they call it McKinley Dams anymore. But like Robert said, it was daytime and there was just a mountain full of owls. And it was just getting that dusk. But like he said, you know, you look around and all you hear is owls and owls. But it wasn't even dark. And that's what they experienced. And like my dad always told them, sometimes a mountain gets lonely and it will draw you to make you get lost. And he always said it was kind of right there because you can walk come top of that mountain to Harbin. If you're looking this way, you'd be from Harbin to Cobb. But he said that mountain there was kind of a mountain that once in a while it was a lonely mountain and it would draw some people to get lost. And my brother brought a Jeep, and I guess Robert and I thought we were, well, I think we got lost one time up there, but we went way down in this canyon. Believe me, I didn't even think we were going to get back up there with that Jeep. And it was a Willie Jeep, it was an Army Jeep. And those are the best kind of Jeeps. But we did, but it was nighttime when we came out of there. But I just remember when Rob was saying that, he said, Dad said we could get lost in this mountain here because it's a kind of a lonely mountain. But we saw a lot of stuff, a lot of streams, little waterfalls, all kinds of animals. One thing I think we didn't see was a bear. One time we drove by and a bobcat was sitting just like here to that chair from us, just looking at us when we went in the Jeep. It didn't attack us, but it was sitting there. I didn't know it was a bobcat. But that's part of that. But I know they went to Mountain Lassen down to Mount Shasta. They went to hunt, but I think the deer was kind of different. I think that's why we didn't go take that meat too much.
They were bigger, but they eat different kind of vegetables.
They have a different taste. That's why we come back down to Middletown, Lake County area. Lake County's a paradise, you know. We all live in heaven here.
They got more different things to eat here.
But those out of the state, Montana, they're all different. I never ate that, but
Too much finding.
they don't eat the good fresh grass what our deer eat here. And to this day, I don't know what happened to all our horns. I know we had tons of them, but I just remember my dad tanned 6 hides, and to this day I thought it was just so easy to stand there looking at him. But I don't even remember how he did the tanning. I just remember they were in a bucket, and then him drying it on our pump houses. And we used it for one of the floats in the 65 or 66 float. We used it because he made a real teepee, my dad did. But that's what our hunting story is. I mean,
Yeah.
So it was fun though. I see how he gathered them up, his sons and brother-in-law. I only had one sister and her husband, and he gathered them up.
Even Uncle Luke and Larry.
Luke and Larry Marcel, but he was kind of like what the Indian people call him, the captain of the roundhouse, captain of this. And my dad, he couldn't hear well, and I never did understand how he did hunt, and I still don't understand how he did hunt. But I guess the boys, my brothers and them, took care of that. And his vision was worth more than his hearing, because he had super, super good eyes. So I kind of think that the vision, what he had, made up for that loss. Because he couldn't hear, and I don't understand how because he would take off and go his woods his own way, but he knew the woods, Diamond D, we all know Diamond D too, just like he did now. But then fishing, it showed Robert how to fish. I had a gate, but then my son Justin tried to get it loose from where it got stuck, and it broke. But Robert made a homemade gig. Nobody knows what a gig is, because everybody asks me what a gig is every time I say that.
It's
But
a
I'm so
straight
used to
point.
it. I'm so used to that. I don't know what the non-Indians call it.
Because the Indians were just able, they're gonna get speared fish, you have to use a straight point.
And it's true.
That's what a game warden said, you can't use a barb on it, like a frog gig or anything, you gotta use a straight point.
And all these pitchforks, I remember him, what's that little hacksaw, what is
Yeah.
it?
You
I remember he
cut
did
that
that.
and then get it hot and bend it out and make it straight, and you get your little pole, like, out of the little pine tree, there's a lot on St. Helena Mountain, there's some good poles, and then you just take off the bark, make it smooth so you don't hurt your hand. And
But we have
then
that.
you gotta whittle it out the end, you gotta engrave it, stick that point in, then they take the string and he wraps it real tight, and then when you put it in water, that thing pulls it, then to hold your point.
And he's the only one in my dad that's ever made a gig out there. But remember, you have to put a dime, he has to put a dime inside of that, where the point is gonna go.
Yeah, anything that.
You have to put a dime, they put a dime in it
Yeah.
any time and to make it
That way
a
that
solid.
point won't push it and crack that point.
But I know I see my dad, I guess they call it harpoon, I guess, like this, but I don't know what they call it, but my dad, he always said a gig, and when I talk to people now, they don't
But
understand.
it's not that easy to gig. You gotta have the touch, you gotta know what you're doing. Because when I see him first gig, he could hit it when the fish is going, and I tried, I was like 15 years old, and I'd miss, and I'd miss, and I'd miss.
He'd be mad.
And then like, Larry used to go gig with me too, and Larry'd get on one side and he'd get on one side, and I see Larry try to gig when they go by, because there was a lot of them. And then he'd miss, and then I'd see him go like that and he'd fall in. Because it was just, because you lose your balance, because you think, you want to go and get it so bad. But after a while, it takes a long time to learn it, how to gig, how to get close. And like if they're laying there, you gotta come up real close to them like this, and you gotta move real slow. And then it almost looks like they're gonna touch it, and then you don't pull back and gig like that, or else you miss it. When you come back so close, then you gotta go like that, and you hit them every time.
But the shark arrow is different in the water, because the water is moving, so it's gonna make it like your point is bending, moving in the water. And I was just, my dad used to think, gosh, son, he goes, you can't hit that? I can remember that.
I know when I was 15, over right behind where they got the sewer ponds,
That's what I was talking about.
spearing back over there. And with that spear, and when I missed it, the fish was right there too, I thought I had him up here.
I remember seeing the
poked
fish,
in and
it was that big,
Hit that,
and
I hit that big rock,
what kind of fish?
messed up that spear
What
ending
kind
up.
of fish was it? Trout? Steelhead?
There was steelhead back in there.
They were steelhead. They were big. I remember that, because my dad would dig a little hole, and then,
All these streams here used to be really spawning creek for all Middletown. This is one of the best spawning areas there was before they put in that Lake Berryessa. When they put in Lake Berryessa, that's what ruined it.
but there was a lot, I didn't remember that, my dad would, some way with that, but on grade or some way, he was really fantastic with all these equipments. Stand it on 3 wheels and make that blade, dig a little hole, and then he would tell my mom, because he had it planned, he said, would bring out the biscuit, tortilla, rice, fried potatoes, whatever, and then he said, once you get out, that was fresh fried fish, because right then he would just reach in with his hand, and they were huge like that. And I remember he just, within seconds, and then fry it up, and that was his lunchtime, and then time to go back. I can really, that's something, because we'll never see that again, never. I don't care how much technology we have, it's not extreme as what I seen my mom and dad did with just a big tractor and then a little bit with what they had. That was out there by Riverview. It used to be called Riverview. I don't know what it's called now.
But you know, it's easier to spear in 4 feet, 5 feet water because the water holds your gig. But to spear in a creek with water running like this, 4 or 5 inches is the hardest thing to do because that water is running and you gotta be, I mean, I never got that good, but I see my dad do it. He just goes, bam. He goes, see that steelhead right there? And I go, no. He goes, right there. He goes, you see it? And I looked and all I could see is that water running, but he had good eyes. And I looked like, I said, I didn't wear glasses that time. And then he goes, watch it. And then I just stood there watching me when he hit it like that, and he pulled out a great big old steelhead like that. But that's how good he was when he did that, because ever since that I learned how to spear. I learned how to spear and hit the fish even when it was swimming. I could hit them when they were swimming by. But it took me years of practice to do that. Because there could be like 6, 7 of them coming into school, and you just, bam, but after a while you just got to know how they move and how that water and everything goes. You got to learn all that. And how you point, and when you get close to that fish, and then you hit them. But I got good. I learned a lot on that. And but that's all we did, Larry and I. We used a pole every once in a while, but to us it wasn't any sport. It wasn't any fun just throwing out a hook. You know, it was more of a sport trying to hit it and make it hard to do the fish. I know I fished with a lot of people, but
If that's not fishing, that's
To us,
the way they do it now, go out and fish. I mean, because I seen them when they all, and they didn't take really any food or anything, mostly just water as they went out. But they just, you never see people hunt anymore like that. And I think really Middletown probably was the only provider for all the rancherias, 5 rancherias around the lake here. Because they would, when they were having a big doing, they would always come and ask Luke, and because there was only 4 homes out there at that time. It was beautiful out there. And as much as I hate to say it now, I hate that word, it's a ghetto out there. But right now, it was our biggest paradise. It was for true. That was, I mean, everything was, Luke and Jose is the one really took care of that rancheria, because I can even remember when a sheriff came out there, and that was John Hutchings, and that was years ago too. They just said, nope, you have to leave your poster right there on that fence post. And they go, we can't do that, somebody's gonna steal it. Well, that's your problem. You should have came out with it. But you can come out without not having it on. Now it's a whole different story out there. But that's the only reason I know that in the quail, they did their quail hunting. I know the quail is our state bird and it's very pretty, but let me tell you, their little meat is very delicious. The quail meat is very delicious. Same as rabbit. Rabbit is very delicious. And that's the wild rabbit. That's not the domestic rabbit. I know they have domestic rabbit now, because I think about 5 years ago we were at Big Time at Cache Creek and ate the rabbit there. But it's a way different, it was not like how my mom and Dorothy Simon fixed it. And that was the wild rabbit. But we didn't kill too much rabbit. It was mostly deer, but I think we were the providers for the other 5, like I said, for the rancherias around the lake, because when they had a big doing, they would always come here, and that's why I know Robert, Al, and my dad, Luke, and I don't know if Marcel was really a hunter, but Larry, and they went out and that's 5 people going out, but sometimes you only get 2 deer, and that's, a lot of mouths to feed around the lake with the Indians. But,
sometimes you don't get nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
then we had somebody out there, not we, but we knew somebody out there on the Elam, Clear Lake Oaks Rancheria. They caught catfish. And I don't know how they caught it, but I know it was in a trap. That was Albert Thomas. I don't know if you went down to the lake to see how they did it. I know I never did.
They had a wire trap.
But they caught catfish But they sold that to a lot of people too, the eland or the catfish. And it was pretty interesting at that time. You know, it just, like I said, I was just amazed how people, I just thought it was something easy to do, but then Robert did let my cousin Richard and I go hunt, and boy, that was a mistake, because I thought I can do like what he did. We had that Jeep, we were out there on Thousand Islands.
They were loud.
Well, Richard always cooked us a big meal. I don't know why we ate like that either, because I know that my dad never did
I
tell
get
us.
way up on that mountain, I can hear them on the Jeep lapping way down. And they would be eating.
But anyhow, he let us go
If I
hunting.
can hear them, you know the deer is gonna hear
Yeah.
them. So I know not to go that way because they're making noise and that deer is gonna go this way. So I go around, you know, because I know what's going on.
But we went and he let us off, Richard and I don't know what I thought, like those guns are heavy. But I had a 22, but it was heavy enough. And I don't know what Richard had. But we went, and I never got so sick in my life. I couldn't even make it up that hill, and Richard ran over the hill. And those mountains are sick. And Robert goes, what the heck is that? Because he was like here to the harvest on top of another mountain, and here comes Richard. But never again did I say, oh no, you gotta let me hunt, let me do this. Never, I was just a driver, I dropped them off and then I just said, okay, I'm going home. But that was my experience in the hunting. But those rifles are very heavy to carry. But anyway, you guys, we're gonna take a 5-minute break here. It's not really gonna take a break, just let Rob kind of just.
No, let me tell them.
Because they're gonna have to play the drums here.
Oh, they are?
Yeah. I didn't bring mine. I thought we said to bring the big drum.
We're good.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay, then come up,
Okay,
Frank.
did you want to say something? Sorry, did you want
No,
to
I wanted to tell everybody about that, where me and my brother seen up on McKinley, about those owls. The owls were the most, it's unusual. And I asked other people, I go, when you guys go hunting, do you guys see anything different up there? Because when we came down out of that mountain, we had to go down this Jeep road, and we was going to split up. He was going to go around the point, I was going to follow the Jeep road down. So we get down there, and he started walking away from me like, here's the street, and then I started going down, and I come back, and I go, hey Al, I go, come here. And he came down there, and I went in that canyon. You gotta see all these owls. I'm talking 3,000-4,000 owls in that canyon. All different kind of owls. You had the hoot owls, the little yellow ones, the barn owls, the white one, and you had all those owls, and they were flying back and forth like that in the canyon. They were all talking. I look in the pine tree, all these owls were standing in these trees, tree limbs on these pine trees. Al goes, I don't know, Bob. He goes, let's go home. So we went down that Jeep road. And you gotta walk down this canyon full of owls. Thousands of owls. They're all hooting, going whoop, whoop, whoop. It's just echoing that canyon like crazy. Going back and forth like that. Al went down first, so I listened to him. He goes, just look at the road and just walk. And so I followed him. We went down that Jeep road. Because my dad was down at the bottom. When we went all the way down to the bottom, we come out. But I'm saying, have you ever been so scared that the hair back of your neck stands up? That's what we had to go through. There were so many owls because that was unusual. You never see that many owls in that canyon. In my life, I'm saying that's what I seen, my brother seen. Because that owl, he's a messenger too, you know, those owls.
He's our messenger for us Indian people.
They didn't harm us. They didn't fly at us, but they were just all over when we went down that road. If you can imagine walking down a canyon before it gets dark with all these owls hooting like that. Do you not believe what I've seen? And the other time I seen the second time I seen those owls was in Clear Lake when I was with my wife. They came to her house, but there were those little owls. And there was like upstairs and there was like a limb. And all these owls come out of that tree. I mean, there's like 20 of those little owls. Why I see these owls, I don't know. It's something I don't know about, but I do see them. I'm just telling you guys what I've seen in my lifetime. And that's relating to that hunting, because I seen it, that's the first time I seen it, was right here on that McKinley on top. On that side of Anderson, where Anderson is, and that mountain over here. That McKinley one was coming down that's where I seen all that. I just thought I'd throw that in there because people that hunt, people that have been in that mountain know it's different. When you travel in that mountain, you feel like somebody's watching you all the time. I don't know, it could be animals, I don't know what's, but you got that notion that somebody's always watching you, always watching you. You're not like you're alone, you always have that feeling. And you look around, but that's just hunting, that's just part of being up there in that nature, in that mountain, because you're way up there. Who knows who's looking at you, you go whatever, but you feel it. But there's something, it could be a mountain lion laying there watching you, who knows? But I just let you guys know that about that, what I seen. I've seen a couple other strange things too that, you know, on hunting. I see a deer that you guys would not believe. You guys probably think I'm a good storyteller. But I seen this in reality. I seen this for real. The first time I got buck fever, it was up there by Harbin, up on that side when I went hunting. A deer came from me to Emma right here, the first one I seen. I seen him running uphill, he came that far, and it was downhill. And I said, oh, I got this deer easy. If I'd have shot him in the shoulder, I would have hit him. But I wanted to make a good shot, so I was going to shoot him in the head. Just as I was going to pull the trigger, that deer, because when they walk, they kind of move like that, their head. Just as I pulled, I seen him move his head back, and I went, and I seen he hit the dirt down there and he took off. And I go, I ain't gonna ever tell anybody about this because you missed a deer 6 feet away, I said to myself. Anyway, then I went around the hill. And I was, you know, like, because you start thinking to yourself, oh man, I should have had that, I should, I don't even want to tell my dad, I might tell Al, I said like that. And I go around this bush and these bunch of quails. There was like this manzanita not too high, and a bunch of quails come out. And they flew, you know how quails are, they scare you, you know. Anyway, I come out like that, and I started, made me jump around there a little bit on the hillside. I started walking again, I come around a corner over here, and here comes this deer jump out. I heard a brush crack, he come jumping out, and you guys are not gonna believe this. You all know what a fawn looks like. It's got spots, and that deer wasn't that high, but he was close enough, just like here to the bird of that wall. But he had 3 points on it. He was a 3-pointer, and it had. I can still remember it was kind of like white looking, but it was only like high as my finger, and it was running like his head. And he went down, and I go, what the heck? Because you know you don't see a fawn with horns on it. Then it went down, these other deer started coming out. I mean, that first thing, these 2 big bucks went towards where my brother was. I mean, these were big bucks running. Then 4 or 5 went this way, and then I didn't know where to shoot. You know, I was kind of young. And so I got ready, and I tried, and I shot about 6, 7 times, and I couldn't hit nothing. And my dad told me, he goes, if you ever get buck fever, he goes, don't try to shoot. He goes, because you're not going to hit nothing. You could be shooting any place. He goes, you might think you're aiming good, but you're not aiming good. He goes, just sit down, leave it go. Don't even try to shoot. And then I shot about 6, 7 times, and then I sat there, and then I go, why can't I hit nothing? Then I sit down, and then I put my rifle down. And I sat there on the hill, and I leaned my gun towards my shoulder. And then I reached up, and I remember he'd say, take your rifle, and just kind of laid on your lap. So when I touched that barrel, it was so hot because I was shooting. You know, you do 6, 7 rounds on your rifle, that barrel gets pretty hot. So I set my gun down, But then I noticed my hand was going, it was shaking like that, and I go, okay, this is what they call buck fever. I said, that's the first time I got buck fever. After that, I never got it, but I know what buck fever is. And then when those deers went down, then Uncle Luke, he was way down there, and he goes, oh yeah. He goes, that big 3-pointer running down the hill from where Robert was, and he just run right to me, and I shot him. But I didn't tell him I missed that other one. But that's what it's neat up there in that mountain, how that mountain can do. And right where those two great big old bucks, 4-pointers, whatever, went over the hill, my brother, because he told me I'm going to come out over there, right in that clearing, right on the ridge. And he came out later on. And he goes, did you get anything? I go, no. I go, I told him later, there was two, right where you come out, there was 2 big bucks went over that hill. He goes, I didn't see them. I didn't see them. But sometimes that's how it is. You can't see them. I don't know why. That was another the second strange thing that happened, what I've seen in those mountains.
When they went hunting like 3-4 hours. It wasn't just a couple hour thing. And it was walking. It was because they would park on a road or mostly on Diamond D, well, Comstock, they had everything like that to drive up. But when Robert went road hunting, I know I'd drop him off somewhere where that gravel plant on Riverview Road is. And he would tell me 2-3 hours, Mill, I'll be over here on the other side of it, close to Harbin. But I knew everything where he went, and we knew the gates to get in, so it was nothing because it was all the Diamond D. But they went hunting, and when Robert did get a deer, I guess I kind of knew, because I better go check on Robert. So I would go get in the car and go, and sure enough, he would say, he'd motion me to stop or wherever. He'd be in the bushes, and then he'd say, Mill. So then I'd stop, and then sure enough, and then here he would come down with the deer, and I can remember the time we were somewhere with a deer, but he didn't kill it, but he thought he did, and put it in the trunk. And when we got by Ward's Arabian Ranch, all this thumping and everything. What the heck?
Then when we got home to the house, he was going bong, bong.
Well, how am I going to do this? And he goes,
And Bill goes, what is that? And I go, I don't know, maybe that deer's not all the way dead.
sure enough, it wasn't.
She went over there, unlocked that trunk, and that deer did come out. Set up,
Oh my gosh.
She was scared the heck out of her.
I thought our car was breaking.
I mean, at that time, and then I went over and grabbed the hammer and I hit it before, it started getting crazy. Kicking all over the place and hurting us. But I killed it, and then after that, you go,
No more of that.
don't you ever shoot? Because it was on a hill, it was fun. I had a gun, and then I said, just stay right there, because I didn't want to get out, because I didn't want that deer to run. I go, stay right there, and I put that, and just
like this, I'm driving.
I said, put your hand over your ear. I said, so I stuck that barrel out that thing out. Boom.
Oh my God.
After that, she goes, don't ever do that to me, ever. And then the deer wasn't dead. It was
Yeah, I wouldn't even dead after we burned it off. That's a crazy thing I've seen, but I know my dad and them, that's how I remember them. He wouldn't get hunt past the dark time though. And then I don't know how they tell them, but they would all meet down we still have that truck sitting in the backyard where he hunts with, and load it up, everybody come home, and sometimes they come home with nothing, and we didn't have no meat that night, so we just ate what my mom had for us there. And now we think we have to have meat every time, but there was times when we didn't have no meat. Just had our potatoes, and we didn't eat any different than how people say, what did the Indians eat? Well, we basically ate, what everybody else ate. Well, we might not have fixed it the way that they do. We fried potatoes, and I know you fry potatoes, and I know you fry potatoes, and you. So that's not really any different, but it was just, I know it was, I never went out of town with them to hunt. like to Bernie and them, because that was their business, and I know that they enjoyed it, but I have two people here gonna do a little entertainment for us here, to give us a little break here, and,
You gonna take a break first?
no, would you?
We are the break. That's right, you got it.
Here, you can use my drum.
You're supposed to use that.
No, you are.
He's gonna join us.
We use one after.
We got one. So the first song we'd like to share is called The Rabbit Song, and we were very blessed to go to a beautiful conference in April, and there was a gentleman there. Do you remember his name?
No.
I can't remember it either. Anyway, he shares this really cool story and then shared this song. And I got to talk to him a little bit after the conference to get permission to share the song. So this is a rabbit song. I think it's perfect with the hunting and when you were talking about the rabbits.
I have it on my thing here, but I don't know how to do that. I wish we could have set it up for the thing and you guys could listen to him, but it was a story about this rabbit when the animals were having a meeting and this rabbit came along and was singing this song, and then the bear said, hey, we're having a meeting here, you can't play that loud, have respect for us. And so he took his arm. And so the rabbit, when he went to join the meeting again, the rabbit started up again. So the coyote said, wait a minute, we told you you can't do this. And he said, you're not even listening. So he took his other arm and he said, I don't know if I'll give your arm back to you, because that's a coyote. A coyote is a real trickster in our stories. So anyhow, it was the other one, I can't remember what the other was, another animal that came and took his leg and said the same thing, stop being so noisy, we're asking you to quit being noisy, we're trying to have a meeting. And then another one came and took his cottontail.
I think so, but that's what this, so that's what he's doing is his little tail. When you hear the song, that's his little tail going back and
See,
forth.
this is the rabbit here. You get that little move there.
And the man that tells the story, when he does it, he really wiggles.
And then the other was, then he couldn't, he was playing and they said, hey, how's he playing? And because they took his, most of his stuff, and then he said, it was about the heart, because he was playing with his heart.
Yeah.
And he said, you can't take a heart from somebody. And he's a heart, kept the music going. So the coyote was the one that was kind of hesitated giving back his left arm, but he got all his equipment back to play them. And so that's what that song's about. But when he told it, he really demonstrated it.
Yeah.
It was really comical. And it was open to the public because he told 400 or 500 Indians. So you can't say it, keep it closed. I mean, that was a public.
Yeah.
So if they have any qualms, they can argue with me about it. Okay.
So there's another song, this is a call and response song that Millie and I share together quite a bit. And I was thinking on the way down here, you tell me what you want to do. See, we could do it like we do, where we go back and forth, or we could do the call and they could do the response, and we could have them. No, we'll do it? Okay.
But Ron's gonna do the call?
No, we'll do the call, and then, so in a call and response song, the call goes out and then you say it right back.
We'll go ahead and go.
Okay. Yeah.
They don't want to be Indians.
Well, we got a few here.
Okay.
Yeah. hee. Whoops, that's the Bigfoot song. Hey ya, hey ya.
Hey ya, hey ya.
Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. Hey ya, hey ya. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. Hey ya, hey ya. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. Hey ya, hey ya. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. Hey ya, hey ya. So the last song we're going to share is called the Bigfoot Song or the Strength Song, and this song is from my husband's land, which is further south from here, up in the foothills of Fresno. And totally putting you on the spot, Hans. Come on up here, you're singing with us. But I think it's really a good song for listening to the stories. Today I got to kayak over across the lake to the island, and I was just walking on the beach, looking around at the beach. And I'm pretty sure it was a bear print, you know, it's like this big. And I'm like, I'm over here all by myself. I don't know if this bear is watching me or not. I don't know what he's doing or if he's even still around. And then I was like, oh gosh darn, maybe Bigfoot's here. So I got back in the kayak and I went back across the lake because I'm like, nobody knows I'm here, so.
She has this kayak because she bought it from me, and I bought it from this Venice thrift store. And then anyway, just a couple of weeks ago, her boat was stolen, and she was sitting there and watching. Hey, that's a nice boat. It was her boat.
There's a guy going down, oh no, it's just like mine. Wait, that is mine.
But
We
they got
chased
it
him
back.
down.
They got it back.
Yeah, I knew something was wrong, but she took her time going across. Coming back, she was really. I go, why? I recorded it, but I didn't do it right. I was gonna keep it.
Yeah, you got 1 second of the ground. I was like, let me see that, hon. 1 second. We'll get it another time.
Huh? No, go ahead, go ahead.
So this is a Bigfoot song or the strength song. Ya-hee-hey, ya-hee-hey, ya-ya-hey, oh-hum. Ya-hee-hey, ya-hee-hey, ya-ya-hey, oh-hum. Ya-hee-hey, ya-hee-hey, ya-ya-hey, oh-hum. Ya-hee-hey, ya-hee-hey, ya-ya-hey, oh-hum. Okay, so we're gonna do it one more time. Ya-hee-hey, ya-hee-hey, ya-ya-hey, oh.
That was for all of us, you guys, because we need this strength, especially Mo. He takes care of many problems, he carries many burdens. This is really for you, on that song is for you, Mo. But it was meant for all of us. Everybody has a burden to carry, but he has the most, so that song was really dedicated for him. But that's for all of us, because he's going in for surgery, my brother's legs need healing there, and we all are. We have grandkids together, we better join them together and make it better for them, not for us.
That's right.
Thank
So,
you.
Pat, you got your leg all healed up. Adrian, you're up in your years there, but we, just busy years for you, and I'm glad to see you.
Thank you.
And a lot of us went through sorry times, sad times. You can't say bad times because it's our life. And it's just life, and that's what it is. We just, each day we just say, okay, thank you God for getting us through this today. Then tomorrow's another day, I'll bring some more troubles, and we gotta carry with that. But that's all of us. And you had your broken arm, wrists, and so we're all here together to be happy. And Robert can continue his song if he wants, his stories if you want. Calvin might want to join them and tell them a few how they hunted together. Robin, I know he's a hunter, so.
Oh, yeah, I got one about Cal.
There's my therapist, Suzanne, from the Lake County Tribal Health, her husband Ron from a different tribe, but we're under the same umbrella.
I'd like to share one more song, if that's all right.
Sure, go ahead. I don't know what song you're gonna do.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. What an honor to be always, asked to come here. And some of the stories that I heard, we have a lot of similarities, even though we're not from the same tribe.
Oh, yeah.
But the similarities are just unbelievable. When he was talking, it's like some of the things I went through, And so thank you for that. It brings a lot of good memories back for me and my childhood growing up, with my grandparents and parents and my brothers and sisters, and a lot of them are gone now. There was 13 of us, and there's only like 4 or 5 of us left.
There were
so-
7 of us and there's only
Yeah,
2
so-
left. Oh, and I forgot Nancy, my niece too. She's going in for surgery too with her shoulder, but at least she's here. In pain, probably in pain. Same as my daughter had 8-10 years ago, labrum shoulder problem. Nancy too, so we're all here too.
Yeah, so that Bigfoot song, it's a healing song. It's for strength, and in my language we call him Papai which means a man with a big foot. That's all it means, Papai. So we always, in our tribe, we always went by, what we see or how it sounds. We don't have no words. Our language is more feelings than words. So that's why a lot of things come out there. So I'm going to share this one song, and probably it can relate to all of us here. It's about the Vietnam era. I'm from that era. And 52 years ago, August the 13th, 1970, I was flying home from Vietnam, coming home. So I want to sing this traveling song, not only for us that came home, but for the ones that did come home. But they went to their own home, to the spirit world, we call. So they traveled their direction, we traveled our direction. So it's calling the travel song. So I want to sing that song in honor of a lot of my comrades that went to the spirit world, and comrades that came home to our families, and then to all our families. Probably many of us here have some family members that served in Vietnam. So I want to sing this song for that and say thank you to to be coming here today. So traveling song to the memories of where away, oh, where away, oh, where away, oh, can oh, can where away, where away, oh, where away, oh, where away, oh, where away, oh, where away, where away, oh, where away, oh, where away, oh, can oh, can where away, where away, oh, where away, oh, where away, oh, where away, oh, where away, where away, oh, where away, oh, where away, oh, can oh, can where away, where away, oh, where away, oh, where away, oh, where away, oh, where away, where away, oh, where away, oh, where away, oh, can now, oh, can where away, where away, oh, where away, oh, where away, oh, where away, oh, where away, where away, where away, oh, where away, oh, where no, yo, go in a good way. All my relations.
Ooh.
Thank you very much.
Beautiful.
I'll be right back.
Do you want to come up and tell a hunting story with Robert and my dad? Or do you remember a few episodes?
Oh, yeah, when you was mentioning about, seeing all those owls. When you're out hunting like that, me and my brother, my brothers used to go out and we had to go out because we had to find something for the family. We just didn't hunt just for that, your one family, but your aunts and your uncles. So we had to go out and get, so we'd be out there all day sometimes. And sometimes we stay out all day because that means we didn't have to go back and do chores neither, There's many different reasons why we stayed out all day. But you would see, like some of the things he was saying, you would see different things and how the land was different back then and so in abundance with a lot of different animals, insects.
Ron, you can come up here and sit down.
Huh?
You can come up here and sit
Oh,
down.
yeah, and then,
It'll be a few minutes.
and then, like he was saying, sometimes you see those things and it would make your hair stand on your back. And for one example, we were hunting for deer, but then we needed to cross this creek without even noticing that we're just, then all of a sudden we heard this kind of little cheeping sound, like little real gentle. And we looked down to our feet and there were just millions of water dogs. Just millions, they're just eerie, they're just like the whole, finally that, when we noticed it, it's just like the whole earth was moving. And you try to step back and get out of the way. I don't know how we didn't notice it walking in, but you're looking, you're hunting, you're not paying attention what's on the ground. And you look down and you're right in the middle of these thousands of water dogs. So you're trying to back out now, and you cannot back out without stepping on several. I mean, it's weird. That feeling. And we didn't have shoes. We hunted with a leather or socks or something to be quiet, so you can feel it. You can feel it on your feet when you're trying to move. It's eerie. And then that too. And then ladybugs. I mean, millions just stuck all over the trees and everything. And you wouldn't see that if you weren't out there. There's probably out there now, but not as much, because through the years times change. The environment's not the same like it used to be. But you remind me of that when we was out there seeing that, and it gives you an eerie feeling. How Earth is, the Mother Earth, and how they grow. It's amazing, just amazing. And you wouldn't see that if you wasn't out there. And you tell the story, and sometimes it's hard to believe because a lot of people haven't seen that, or if they have seen it, they can relate to it. And I related to it when he was saying that, and the hunting and the fishing. There was different ways of fishing. We did the same thing. For salmon down the San Joaquin rivers in Central California. My great grandfather used to talk about it because they'd have their little stands up on top, and you would spear it for the salmon, or they'd tie us across. We were about 9 years old. My aunties would tie us across the river. About 7 or 8 of us were about 9. And that water was cold. I was older, so I had to swim across and tie that rope. When you're the sign, then that rope was to hold us in that river so they wouldn't wash us down. So the rope was, and the aunties were on this house, how violent our aunties were. Now you've seen the violence in them, because we would fish. We have a medicine that we throw into the water to knock the oxygen out, so the fish would float to the top. So it was our job with baskets to get that fish and throw it to the bank. That's how I fished. Now this is what we see in our aunties. They're up there we call poro, with a stick. They'd be around hitting that fish. You know, oh man, you know, that's our aunties, beating those fish up. You know, we stayed there all day long because we would hunt, we would gather for the whole family. So we wouldn't go back until we had, remember those big old burlap sacks, 100 pounds? Well, we'd fill those up with steelheads, about 20 of them. And then we go back, we smoke it, dry it, we fry it to keep it going, and then we pass it on to our family members. So there was different ways. So all these stories that they shared here, and there was similarities. You know, it's the same, just different area. You know, survival then. You know, we always had food out there, everything. We never knew we was poor until we went to town. We had to pay for something, didn't have the money. But out there, we had everything. So yeah, so I want to say thank you for some of the memories it brought back for me too, growing up, you know, in my area.
But when you talk about that fishing like that, because I know Calvin and his sister, Robert and I, we went fishing right there at, right across from Anderson Marsh in that little ditch. That was called, not a ditch, a creek. And there was a hitch, and we did like that too, remember that, Calvin? Just tossed them out.
Yeah.
And we came home with 5-gallon barrel. I remember hunting with my aunt, and we did that too. And this one guy still comes out to the casino, and he goes, "I will never forget that day when I saw you catching all that fish with your hand." And he still says that to me today when they go in there. But I remember yeah, that's how and they still do. A lot of the kids would take a spatula and they stand in that creek and just go like this and throw the creek out.
Yeah.
I would like to see my grandkids see that, because they don't have the pole. They don't need the pole. They just gotta stand there, and the same way we saw it like that.
Yeah, big baskets, you know, they were like this, so the water would go through, so it would be heavy, so you can throw the fish up on the bank.
Yeah,
You know, and then those-
the Robinson kids, they use a spatula. They take what they barbecue now, I see them, and they just stand there in the creek and they're just little kids like Nancy's little grandkids, stand there with the spatula and toss those fish out, and then the adults are up there and sometimes they just catch them right there and clean them and.
Yeah, you
they
clean
get out
them, we'd cook some there too.
Right there.
We'd eat right there too,
Yeah.
that'd be our lunch, you know.
Right there.
Those baskets probably weren't much bigger than this drum here, but to us at that time, you know, 8, 9 years old, it looked big, you know, but that fish in it flopping around and trying to flop it, you know, 8, 9 years old, you know, we're out there working, you know, but
That still happens today. That still happens today.
Yeah, and then it was different kind like steelhead, trout, salmon. We had all that out there. And then then we go up high country for the golden trout. Oh, golden trouts are delicious. It looks like salmon when you open it up, orange. It's called golden trout. It's higher country, about 7,000 elevation in our area it was only up there. So I was born and raised around Shaver Lake, little tribe from there. And so we did a lot of river fishing and lake fishing up in that area. And then the logging came in. So that was our transportation then. We'd hop on one of those logging trucks, we'd hang on the cable. You know, or the flume, we'd go down to the flume and just jump off into the lake and get our stored and drive back up and get you right back in the logging truck again. Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, and the dirt was like that thick, you know, from those logging trucks, we'd jump out and just like jumping into water, just roll into it, keep going. Those trucks wouldn't stop, they couldn't stop. So we just rolled in that dirt, keep going. We never looked pretty. That was dirty looking, but that was just the way of life at that time. It was fun, you know. Yeah, we always did something. You always hunting, gathering, it was just a way of life. So thank you for your stories. It brought back memories for me too.
The same, Barry, the same as yours.
Yeah, Yes, the similarities of.
Yeah, that's what my dad, when he worked on the ranch, they had to feed us, you know. When it's in the middle of the winter time or something, you go home and then you have a bunch of manzanita, dry manzanita.
Yeah,
Stack up there, and later on, all this, the rest of these people in town caught on, what are you doing? They said, oh, Jose must be taking the deer home to go. He'd have it underneath there and stack all that manzanita on top. Then when they get home, he'd say, okay, you boys take off all that manzanita because I gotta get that deer on scene.
yeah,
But that's how he used to do all the time. And nobody bothered him, you know, because he had a big family, you know. And he worked on the ranch, he took it from there straight to the rancheria.
yeah, they would trade too with the ranchers, because, you know, they had, you know, beef or something like that. They didn't have time to go and get salmon, so we'd go down and trade some of our salmon with that beef down there. So that's how we traded for, we got beef at home too. Or someone like deer or something, so we traded, or go in downtown, some of the markets, you know. We didn't have the money to pay for it, so we traded with what we caught that day. So we'd have enough for the family, and enough to go trade. Or maybe for a big bag of flour or something, we'd trade a bag of salmon. Yes.
Yeah, my Aunt Doris, you could, when I used to get gig fish or you know, catch them or something, as soon as I bring that fish in, you just take it in, start cooking and just cook that fish. But she only had that wood stove to cook on, those old time ones, but she would bake it and do everything. She was just a regular cook.
Yeah, you smell that for miles.
Yeah.
You're cooking outside in that wood stove.
And then make tortillas and biscuits and all that with it, you know. They didn't eat too much of the sliced bread out of town that time, when I was little. It was good too. And then when I went to school, I used to watch all the rest of these school people, they all have milk, potato chips. And I used to kind of feel bad, you know, and I said, oh, I got a biscuit and deer meat. You know, because I'd have a good sized biscuit. One day I don't know who it was, he asked me, he goes, what do you eat? What are you eating all the time? And I said, deer meat. And he goes, okay. And I forgot who it was, and he goes, here, you want my milk for some of that deer meat? And then he started trading me for my food, you know, he wanted that deer meat. So he gave me potato chip and milk and everything. But we just kind of swapped. You know, we were just kids eating lunch, you know, but he was just curious what I was eating, but it was deer meat. And then once he tasted it, he goes, this is good. He goes, it's really good.
Yeah, they always knew, you know, they always knew I had smoked salmon or something. They want to trade for a bologna sandwich or something. Bologna, hey, bologna sandwich sound good. Trade some jerky for that.
The one thing they don't eat too much is that mud hen, remember?
Yeah, that wasn't too popular.
I mean, a lot of people, I mean, it was good, the way they cook it, but it just stunk, I mean, you stunk like it. Because what they would do, they would just throw it on the coals and let it cook that fat, and then they'd eat the fat, and then they would eat the bread, whatever tortillas with it, but it was really good. And then once you get the fat off it, then they cut it up and they cook it, but it was.
Did you say mud hen?
But that was in.
Mud hen.
Make it real crispy. Like eating the chicharrones, like chicharrones if you crisp it real good.
But back in the
Kinda
day,
crunchy.
man, the Indians, that was good, that's what they got. You can smell it after you get to eat. If you're on your breath, on your hand, everybody.
It's a mud hen.
Put a little salt in it. I mean, it was delicious. I mean, probably nowadays people just think about it, but I mean, it was good. It was good. They know how to do it. They know how to cook it. They know how to handle it. But I mean, a lot of Indians, a lot of people don't eat it, but even my brother Al, when he was in high school, he brings his girlfriend out there and she didn't know what it was, and that was Judy Comstock.
Judy Comstock.
She goes, what is that? And he goes, oh, this is, well, we call it mud hen, you know. It was mud hen, and then he eat it, but she could, you could see her make her face because she don't know what that is. It was kind of funny to see other people eat it. See what, Indians did, at that time. But that, any kind of fish or something like that, in that divorce, you cook that up. She don't let it sit, as soon as you bring it out of that water, she just kick it in and start cooking. But she was a real chef, but the thing is, she cooked that fish, and then she take that eyeball and pop it out. Yeah, they eat it, they ate the eyeball. And asked me if I wanted one, they took like a spoon and went in there and popped it. And they go, you want it to, this is good, you take it, and then they take a spoon and pop it out.
My grandpa used to suck it out. My grandpa used to suck it out.
Well, that's what I seen, when I was younger. I seen how they eat and how they cook, and because they don't leave too much, they want to cook as much as they can.
They just didn't waste. And that's people that nowadays just don't waste. If you're a farmer, you don't waste. You kill your own meat. You don't
But
waste
I think those Asian people eat the eyeball too, don't they?
Well, back then it was normal, now it's like, ooh, like, but back then it was normal, every day, Even now, I don't do that now. I changed too, I go to Safe Place, get the fish now. It's processed.
When we're riding on the logging trucks?
No logging trucks. My belly wouldn't let me stay on that log anyway.
You want to call it an end here or what?
Oh, well, I was joking around with Cal, but it happened. We were about maybe 11, 12 years old, something like that. We thought we were great big hunters because we could go with the older people. So we go with my dad and my brother Al. We got up there in the mountain, then it started getting late. I can't remember, but we was on 1,000 acres. I can't remember how we couldn't find them. But it was getting late and it was in that mountain, so we stayed up there for a while, then we came down that mountain, walking on that road, and it was getting dark. And I said, well, if we go this way, we can follow this road. We know which road to take, so we just went down the hill, going down. It was getting dark, and we couldn't see no Jeep or, we hear anybody hollering. So we're walking in the dark, going like that. Pretty soon we seen these black Angus, like was way over that way, about 60 yards. Then they started talking and hollering, going, Then all of them, because out there, when the guy's out there walking around, he's either coming to feed them. So they thought we were coming to feed them. So all these 50, 60 cattle all started running at us. So what did we do? We're only 11 or 12. We don't know what to do. So I guess we just thought tree. So we ran to the nearest tree. And we went up on that tree and we had all these cattle around us. And we're sitting there and then Cal goes, how are we going to get home now? I go, that's a fine question to ask. I go, with all these cattle down here, we were scared, was in the tree. Then finally we heard that Jeep light coming and heard my brother Al. And he was hollering for me and I go, oh no, I could tell when he was mad at me. He was like, Robert. And then we started hollering, and a bunch of cows around us, and he pulled that Jeep up and he said, get out of the tree, get in the tree. So we got yelled at all the way home. Well, it's funny though, I asked Cal that other day if he remembered that, and he said, yeah. But things like that happen because we didn't know, we were young, we're 11, 12, we think we know, but we're, I mean, at 11 or 12, we all think we knew everything, but we don't know nothing. But it was funny though. I mean, after a while, it wasn't funny when I got chewed out. So stay where we drop you off. Stay there. We'll come back. Stay there. Don't go roaming off and going a different way. That's what we did. We got impatient and we left.
How much older was your brother Al than you?
He was in high school. He was like 17, about 17, someplace in there. He was older than us. He was way smarter than us, too. I mean, we just lived, kind of just went along with the program, you know?
Well, that's all I have for storytelling. I'm glad you guys joined us, but that's how my dad and Robert and Al, like I said, they were the three main hunters on that rancheria. And after I think about it now, my dad was the captain of everything, because I remember John Kelsey coming, and when they wanted to hunt, they all met there. And they respected everybody, you know, it was respect your gun, and they had the, what's that brush? The dogwood brush, they would brush their guns with. I know the non-Indians don't do that, maybe his tribe, but they would respect the gun. I guess really they probably said a silent prayer over their gun, and they had respect for the next hunter next to them. It wasn't no joking matter or anything like that. Nobody was joking when they went out. But I remember them, then they'd all climb in the truck, and that time you could ride in the back of the truck. And they would go, and sometimes, like I say, they'd be back within a couple hours because they got one. They didn't overdo it either. They didn't kill 3 or 4. It was just like 2, and they had this tree in the yard, and they would string. I know we used to have the deer hangers. I would have, if I had that, I would have brought that in, but I don't know where those are. It's all different out there now from when we grew up and seeing it. But that's all, you know, I know that my dad really did hunt from the ground, from water, from the land, in order to feed us. I know he did do that, and he was lucky to have these 2 well-known ranchers to give him the area for us to survive.
Yeah, he had us dogging. He had us out there brushing for him, bringing all that. But he taught us, though, I mean, and taught me in Indian when he goes, when you go hunting, he says, and you're by yourself, he goes, you don't have to tell everybody, he says, but in the Indian way, he goes, when you go to that mountain, before you start even climbing on it, because the mountain's alive, he goes, the mountain is alive. You talk to that mountain. You tell that mountain you're coming up here to get food, and that's all you want. You're not coming to shoot things and kill things or damage that mountain. All you want to do is come in and get food and take it home. You talk to the mountain, and then everything will go good. He goes, because that's your protection. He goes, because if you travel by yourself, you got to protect yourself wherever you go on the mountain, because it's dangerous in there. But that's how he treated me to hunt. He goes, because Indians that I figured, that I learned are spiritual when they did something. They were all spiritual about how you handle life when you go in your own life and everything. It's not as simple as just grabbing a gun and going out in there and shooting and killing. I mean, and when you kill, I'll tell you another thing, when you shoot a deer, I've been watching them on TV, when they hunt those bucks and they shoot them. Shoot a deer and you kill it. Your body, your adrenaline is gonna shake. But when you go over there, and when you get close to that deer, and you touch that deer, it'll stop. That's just part of the nature of hunting and shooting a gun. Watch them hunting on that TV and watch those guys shake. They'll go, after they shoot, they'll get all excited and they'll go, and they'll breathe like that. Their adrenaline really go. But if you go and touch the deer, it'll quit. Because my brother and I, we shoot, and then Al goes, have you ever touched that deer after you killed it? And it could be 100 yards away. But when you go over and then you touch it and you feel it's dead, it stops. It's just part of your adrenaline, like I said, doesn't it? And then when you kill a deer, you don't, if it's uphill, you don't go straight up the deer. You got to go around it and come down, because if you come underneath and that thing's you just wounded, that thing can come up and it can hook you and kill you. We was taught that too, to be careful, when, because there's a lot of things that can happen if you, because when you get, like I say, when you get excited and you, because they want to run to it. Like when the hunter shoots a deer, he wants to run right to it. He don't take his time and, you know, and be careful. But that's what my dad said, you gotta be careful because if that thing's alive, he's gonna hook you. You know, so you gotta be real careful when you get up there close to him. Because then another thing, I hunted all my life and I never got bit by a rattlesnake. I came close, but I never got bit by a rattlesnake. And that was, and there's things that Indians use, you know, that they can't, we put on us, and that the rattlesnakes smell that and they don't know what it is, so they go away from you. But that rattlesnake,
Some things aren't share and tell.
rattlesnake is, and like my dad would say, he's dangerous, but at least he warns you. He goes, if he warns you and lets you know that he's there, and don't bother him, because go around him. If you can hunt him, if you can do it, to go around him, leave him alone. Because here, it lets you know he's laying there.
That's what the Indians say about a rattlesnake. They're the best snakes, so they let you know they're there. The other snakes is like a snake in the grass, they sneak up like, but a rattlesnake will let you know I'm here. They will rattle. They always say that's the best snake, if he will let you know I'm here. But the people kill them all the time, and just like you say, when you're hunting, it's a little different out there, because I can remember my dad saying to my mom, he said, today when I was walking up and gonna go hunting, he said, I see a deer standing on his two legs looking at me. And he said, when you look, he said, you really think of a person, but it's a deer. But he said, that's how they will trick people too, that they will stand like that and look like it. You know, he said a snake will stand on its tail and you will think it's a stick. And I've seen that happen coming down by either it's Etowah Springs or Etna. Which one's out there on Pass Riverview? Etowah. I remember Bertie or Mom, when we were coming from there, and I ran over that snake, and when we looked back in there, she looked back in that mirror too, and I looked back in the mirror. I looked in mine, she looked on the side, and she looked at it, she goes, did you see that snake? And I said, yes, and I said, is it standing up? And she said, yeah, and it was chasing us. It was standing up on its tail. And that's the truth. I said, Bertie, nobody would ever believe us. And but that's because I winged it some way by probably just pinching it when I ran over it, so it was mad. But I seen my dad say that well, I hear him tell my mom, I seen a deer standing up like just like a man today when I was hunting. He said, so I kind of just let that one be because he was telling me something. So he said, I just went the other way. But anyway, I'm kind of tired and...
That's how, and that bad luck too, if you shoot a buck, and then it cries before it dies, then we don't hunt for like a week or something. It's bad luck.
Yeah.
Because everybody who was shot a deer, sometimes the deer will cry. And when that happens, then leave it alone. I mean, you could take the deer and eat it, but you just can't. It's not good to go hunting the next day. Something might happen. You don't know what's going to happen, but it's crying for a reason. That's the way I was taught. And I heard them too. I seen people shoot, and I heard that deer cry like that. And it's kind of creepy, you know. It's creepy to hear a deer cry like that. He'll like bawl, you know, like that sounds funny, but it'll give you a funny feeling. But you're not supposed to. After that, you can take the deer, but you know, he said just skin it. Leave the gun to lay. Don't touch your gun for a while. Just leave it alone. He goes and just go. Let the days go by. Then after a while, then you'll feel all right again. Then because I guess when you quit thinking about that deer crying, then you can go out back out again. He told us. But it's weird though. Like hunting is really weird. It's really strange up there in that mountain. Because we're all sitting right here next to everybody. We think nothing like that can happen. There's a lot of different things in that mountain that we don't know about. We think we do. We think we're you know, we're so sophisticated that we know everything, but there are other things out there that we do not know about. And just like those Indians that were singing up in, they were singing an elk dance over by Altars or someplace back way in there. And I was going to see Martia and Chico, and I was right there by Maxwell with the hunting club that was going along the freeway. And I see like 6, 7 deer, and I seen a white one, and then I was going down the road, and I pull out the road, and I go, what? At first, in my mind, I thought it's a goat. I go, what the heck is a goat doing with all these deer? So I put it, pull off the road, and I backed up. And then I went to look, and then when I came and looked, it was a white deer. It was all white, but in the end of, that's how close it was, all white, but the end of the tail was black. It was pure black on the end of the tail. And I seen that right there by Maxwell. And then I was telling another Indian guy named Gus Hopper, and he goes, oh yeah, well they're elk dancing up here. He goes, that's probably why you seen something like that in that valley, because most of those things that Indians see are because I say they're religious, they're spiritual, and they're down to earth, is because they see visions of some things that some people can't see. Some people, it'll take them a long time. Not all Indians can see it, but some Indians will see things, but they're visions. And I know in his tribe, his people probably see some visions too. That's what they are, the visions. Other people can't see them. It's just certain times, whatever that person in their lifetime is doing, whoever they are. See, like I was a hunter and all that, and they're doing the elk dance, but some way that spirit come through and did what it showed me something different, a different way. But that's how it travels sometimes in their visions. Everybody in reality has a vision, but sometimes some people don't open their mind up to see it. They don't understand it. But some things are weird, in this lifetime that I see. But a lot of other nationalities, I know they see things that's unreal, But I just want to express that to you guys. Maybe one of these days you're going to see something that you didn't. Like one time I seen a great big owl over here a long time ago, and my sister-in-law laughed at me because I said, that thing had wings like 6 feet. They all laughing like, ah. But I seen what I seen was wonderful. But, because other people can't see it at the time. But it's just scary. Some things are scary. You would not believe, and not too long ago, after my wife died, I went to the cemetery, cleaned around there, and I was thinking about my dad. Cleaning around there. It was on Middletown Day too, about 11 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock. There's Ed Simon and Dan Pacheco. We went up there, and you guys help me out? And he goes, yeah. And I was able to move around and work around a little bit, so we went up there and was cleaning around. And fixing my dad's. I was thinking, well, I want to fix this so nobody and these younger people won't come and dig here. So I was fixing that up. And my dad, like a long time ago, he used to wear the big head. He was kind of the lead dancer, when they come out for tribe. And that's how they put the big show on. And they were real strong. But anyway, we were there bothering around, just about ready to leave. And then all of a sudden I hear this like that. And then I thought at first when I heard that, I thought it was like somebody riding a dirt bike or something like that. And then it goes, and it kept getting closer to us. First thing it was like a great big old, sound like half of that mountain. And then I thought it was a bunch of bees. You remember they were talking about all those killer bees? And I heard that other thing going, like that, sound like bees. And I reached down, I had my little dog, and he was small. I reached down and I grabbed him, and I was going to go to the car. I was thinking these bees are going to kill him. And my other dog I had that time, I said, come on, Chloe, get in the car. And And I started going to the car and I opened the door. When I opened the door, this noise went right through the cemetery. I mean, it was like, whoa, man, it just went right through us and there was nothing. It was just a noise. I asked Dan Pacheco, I go, what did you think and what did you feel when that happened? He goes, I heard it, but there was nothing there. There weren't any bees or anything. He goes, but I felt it. He said it came down me and it went down all the way to the ground. And then it went through. He goes, and I asked Ed, and he goes, I heard it. He goes, but it went through and it went towards the mountain and went across. So we got in the car and left. But that's something that, like I'm saying, that's something that is unusual, but I think of my dad because he was the one that handled those Indian dances. He was the one that was powerful, you know what I mean? And whatever they did when they danced, they did it right down to earth, right down to nitty gritty. They didn't fool around with alcohol. They used tobacco on certain instances because they needed tobacco for their, but he was a very powerful man. And that's, I just think of that and I go, with us now, we're the two that's left from him, you know, out of that life, that generation, but I'm just saying. He was a man that was powerful, you know what I mean? He had a lot of power. He knew what to do. And like today, I said if he was here today, he'd be out there going there to see what everything's going on. He wants to know if this is going on. That's a job. He'd be right there every day, every morning. He'd be right there doing it because that's the way he was. He was the boss, you know. That's how he ran it. But it's good that I got to talk about him because I know a lot of people don't know it, but they put on a float back in '68, I think. 61 in Middletown here. And that was one of the best floats that they put for Indians. Millie was on there. Of course, he's a parade lady, you know. Been on parade ever since then.
Okay, you guys, well, thank you for coming and sharing this, but I'll give you a little Wintone story from Wintone over there from my mom's. I know she told us many stories how the fawn got the white spots, but to this day, that just way gone. There were so many stories she told us, and I just happen to remember how this one was how the woodpecker got his red cap. It was, and I just picture back there around this one turn going up to by Christina's house, and this woodcutter was cutting a tree down, and this bird was sitting there, and he said, "Cochillo, cochillo, cochillo." This is in Wintone now, not Pomo. And he said, "Watch out, watch out." And I'm sitting here, and then when the woodcutter cut, he cut his thumb, and then the blood dripped on top of that bird's head, and that's why the woodpecker has a red cap. So I'll leave you guys out with that story, and thank you for coming. And